As many of you know, I love a bit of Leonora Carrington, and this piece that's in the Tate Modern, well, it's called Elohim, even though they spell it, the Tate, Elohim. Even Leonora, near her signature, she writes down Elohim, as we all know is the name for the gods in the Old Testament. It's a plural name, it's Hebrew, Elohim, not Elohim. I don't know why the Tate doesn't employ me to sort out all the spiritual, magical, theological artwork that their magical occultist artists have provided for them to display. Leonora Carrington was known to be an occultist, and she developed a lot of artwork that would be seen as occult-like. Was this magical practice? I believe myself that when we are creating something, it is a magical practice, and she was obviously putting into her art what she had learnt, philosophized about, saw in this realm and perhaps other realms, but she had an affinity with connecting with her inner self, her ego, her subconscious, and she would have perhaps had help with that, not just through being associated with Rodney Collin, who came from the Ouspensky line, whom she met in Mexico, but also the surrealists she was hanging around with were also looking into the divine, divinity. What is life? Can we make life magical? Is this artwork depicting the esoteric lessons she's learnt throughout her life? And she had quite a traumatic life at times, found peace when she had her children, but still she continued to work, creating these fabulous characters that she could see or feel or was in contact with. Her imagination is truly amazing. And she had this from a young age. This wasn't just what she developed through her relationships with the surrealists. She was creating art and stories from her youth, painting fabulous figures, not just humanoids, but creatures, mystical creatures, mythical creatures, her own interpretation of these kinds of creatures. What were they representing? And in this painting, Elohim, I believe she must be trying to connect with the gods in some kind of way. And it's fascinating that she has some quite mythical characters in them that also have a lot of symbolism. My favourite part of it is the lion, actually. I love that little lion that's in this. And we've got the fish. Has so many meanings in symbolism, whether it's iconic, religious, mythical. Birds are often in her artwork. All styles of birds, some looking like the birds we see every day in our life, and very magical, mystical, mythical birds as well, like the ones here. They're quite owl-like, yet at the same time they're quite, well, they have this feeling of wisdom as owls do, but are they owls? Or are they a new type of bird that she's brought forth from her understanding of what the Elohim are? And so many stars and suns, she was trying to connect with the cosmic, with the universal. There are beings in this painting that are trying to talk to us, to communicate to us. Leonora once said, let me get this right, art is a magic which makes the hours melt away and even days dissolve into seconds. I can say this about some of my own art. I get quite caught up in it and lose time as I just throw myself into making whatever it is I'm doing, putting my focus into it, my full awakeness, attention. Is it awakeness when we're painting, or are we going to sleep when we paint and create art? Are we going into other realms, which one often feels when one looks at Leonora Carrington's artwork? One is entering another realm, a realm that seems very alive and very real. Yet it's like our own, but it isn't our own. Another quote from Leonora is, painting is my vehicle of transit. I don't always know where I'm going or what it means. I can be a bit like that with my art too, as I hope many of you artists. You throw yourself into something, you know what you're going to do, but sometimes it takes you off on a completely different trajectory. As I hope looking at Leonora Carrington's art does for you anyway. If you do go and see some in your galleries or find some of her work online, though seeing it with your own eyes in person, the actual art piece is very different from looking at it as a picture online. This is a quote from Leonora Carrington. "I don't paint dreams as far as I know. Dreams are in a different space. There must be many, many different spaces. Everything is interrelated. Everything in the phenomenal world would be entirely related. They are vehicles moving from one liminal place to another, one subliminal place to another." That was Leonora Carrington's own words. This is a self-portrait with one of her obsessions, which is horses. Of course, the hyena, which she uses in one of her little short stories, which again is kind of autobiographical because this was painted during the times of her becoming a debutante. She was going to be debuting herself at her ball, and she really didn't want to go, and she had to dress up in all the fancy dresses. Her family made her do it. And she wrote this little short story about a hyena that comes in and takes her place in the ball. I highly recommend reading that story. Her stories are like fairy tales, myths, all interwoven into her surreal mind. Many regard Leonora Carrington as a hermeticist, that her artwork is very hermetic, as is her writing as well, and she became a bit of a hermit herself, hiding herself away in her studio, following her own esoteric path. And we must remember, since she was under the tutelage of Rodney Collin in I think it was the 1950s, they would have been discussing the fourth dimension, Ouspensky's idea of the fourth dimension. What is time? What is real? What is out there?